Our guest for this segment is David Lopez, who is the CEO of AGS. And David, a year ago, part of the conversation was, when will AGS go public and will they go public? Now you're a public company. You've been so since February. Your stock has more than, or just about doubled, I think.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Right. So tell us a little bit about this new AGS, this publicly traded company.
The good news is that the new AGS is just like the old AGS, right? I've been with the company about 5 years now. If you think about AGS, we've evolved a bit over the past 5 years. When I joined, we were primarily a Class 2 distributor/supplier with some limited development. We acquired Cadillac Jack, we acquired a social business, we acquired a lot of table technology. So we've become a diversified supplier in the space. And just what we've become as a company, be it culturally, product-wise, as far as our direction goes, the good news for our customers, investors, and everybody else is that we're the same company. Nothing's changed other than just being a publicly traded company at this point. Fun to watch your stock on most days.
On most days.
Yep.
Historically, AGS was a Class 2 slot machine company.
Yep.
You've moved into Class 3, you've expanded your space even in Class 2. You've got some interactive things that are happening. And you've obviously added some table games, which is still a very small part of your total business. Now, tell us a little bit about the different segments and how they are evolving and what you hope for them to be in the future.
We'll start with slots, start with the biggest division, and you're right, we've evolved from Class 2 into a more diversified supplier. Class 2's still a huge focus for us, obviously. I think we're just about number 2 as far as placements of Class 2 units in space. So we continue to stay focused there. Just about every game that we create is made for Class 2 and for Class 3 now. So those go down parallel paths, and we essentially make them for the Class 2 market and Class 3 market. That's gone very well for us. Just speaking of Class 3, you can sort of, if you look at our financials now, which is very easy, obviously being public, but if you look at our unit sales figures, it really speaks to our Class 3 penetration and success so far. And I think a few years ago, we were doing sales of 100 to 150 units a quarter. And now we're sort of in a comfortable range, right around 1,000 units a quarter, doing about 4,000, roughly 4,000, give or take 4,000 units a year now. Whereas I think right before our acquisition of Cadillac Jack, we were probably around 350, 400 for an entire year. So that's the slot division, and we continue to stay focused on what we've said we were focused on, which is games for gamblers. More volatile, games that really draw in that type of gambler. We're still not in the entertainment segment. We don't do licensed games. There's no plans to do licensed games in the near future. The table game division's really, as a percentage of our revenue and EBITDA, it's not growing, but it's now growing just in pure dollars and from an EBITDA perspective. So we're really starting to see success there. We've had bonus spin, that's been a success. Now I think the latest thing that we're talking about and is really going well for us out in the market is Stacks Progressive, which is a 5-tier progressive. And that sort of attaches to a couple different games, but one in particular called Super 4 has been a huge success for us. We're getting a lot of success out of that on the East Coast right now. We're starting to see that move across the country, where we're getting placements here in Nevada now. Within that table games division, we have a lot of other things. We have a nice little sign business that's beginning to expand, and we think that we can be a little bit disruptive in that space. And then, of course, we talk about shufflers. We've talked about shufflers for a couple of years, and now we have our GLI approval as of, I think it came in on Friday. So GLI approval, no restrictions. We can get out there and get after it now and do what a whole bunch of us know how to do, right? So that's that division, and that's coming along nicely. And in interactive, we've been social, B2C. We've pivoted over the last year to a social, sort of still doing B2C, but a social B2B business, which has been very successful. We started off doing very small deals, and now we're getting in with larger customers, finding a lot more success there. And then, of course, we're now entering sort of the real money gaming space. We're doing it as sort of sort of like in this integration and aggregator type role. And so far, we're obviously getting our feet wet there and just learning the business. And I think that you'll see AGS make additional moves in that real money gaming space and in the online space in general.
You had mentioned a minute ago signs, and you can be disruptive. Can you tell us about that?
So table game signage, within the table game segment, we do roulette and baccarat signs right now. I think that, by and large, we're just like everybody else, except our technology is a bit more recent in some regards. But we're gonna offer some things that we believe will be interesting. Something we're doing for customers here in Nevada is we partner with the Vegas Golden Knights, and obviously Vegas Golden Knights are sort of a big deal in Nevada, clearly. And so we did some special graphics packages on our roulette signage that incorporates a little bit of Golden Knights logos and just makes it a little bit more fun, a little bit more relevant. Players, casino operators all love it so far. But what we're looking at is seasonal sign packages, and we're also looking at a very unique business model that we're pitching right here at G2E. So next year we'll be talking about how we disrupted in this space instead of how we're disrupting. But we're going to do some interesting things there that I think will really differentiate us in a space that is, it's changed over the years, but nothing too dramatic, and we're looking to do that.
A big part of the growth story for AGS has simply been geographical. Mm-hmm. There's just a whole lot of jurisdictions that you've not been in, and now you are in them or you are about to enter them. Can you describe for folks that geographical expansion?
So geographic expansion has been tremendous over the last, if you think about 2 or 3 years. Number one, it's product approvals, of course, and that comes sort of hand in hand. We've got our compliance team. We're working, with Vic Gallo and really just targeting all that and rolling out jurisdiction by jurisdiction to get corporate licenses, right? And then, of course, product approvals come after that. And so, I think we just got our Pennsylvania approval recently. We're seeking Colorado. We'll get them all. It's just a matter of time. Clearly, we've been in California, Nevada, Mississippi, Louisiana. But those were all new jurisdictions for us at one point. We weren't doing very much of anything in California. We weren't approved in Louisiana and Mississippi just a few years ago, and now we're doing tremendous business there. And I think beyond that, right now, one of the more recent stories for us is our approvals in Canada. We just got an approval at BCLC, which is a big deal to us. That's a bit of a process, and we're proud to have gotten that approval. And we got Alberta earlier this year, and they kicked right off with like about 130 unit order. And from everything I understand, our products are going great up there. So we're going to sweep the nation. Everything will get approved. But we started primarily in Oklahoma, Alabama, Florida, and sort of a couple others, and it was really focused in those areas. Clearly important customers to us still. Our top customers are still in those states, but our approvals will be nationwide and all the way up into Canada, and of course we're in Mexico as well.
Is there any way to quantify? Can you say that 2 years ago you were in 10% of your addressable markets, today you're in 50%?
Yeah, I could quantify it, but I'd be guessing here today. So we're probably over 50% from an approval perspective now. From a penetration perspective, it's much different. So if you look at, it's focused on slots, we're at a market share of around 2.4%, right? We ship share between 6 and 8% depending on the measurement period, right? But our goal is to get to about, our near term goal on a horizon that we can see is to get to 5% market share. Keep raising our ship share levels, obviously, to sort of accelerate that. But that sort of gives you the better framework versus number of jurisdictions. But we're about 2.4% market share. We're aiming for 5%. We've got most of the approvals now that we need.
You've got some games that have just extraordinarily great performance, as we've seen with the reports that you're familiar with that we do with Todd Eilers. What's your secret sauce?
Oh, I mean, I think, there's product secret sauce comes from the smart guys in, Atlanta and Austin and Sydney, Australia, and our development teams in general, right? But the secret sauce is people. I mean, that's where it's going to happen, right? We work very hard on recruiting and retention. We work very hard at the culture. We want AGS to be the best place to work. We want AGS to be the kind of place that folks want to come work for us, even if maybe they have a better offer on the table from another company. We'd like them to still consider or come and work for AGS, even if we're not quite on par from a compensation point of view. We try to work with that by saying, hey, we have obviously different sort of arrows in the quiver, and now we have public company stock, so we can sort of compete in that regard from a compensation point of view. But culture, people, and really giving folks the autonomy to do what they do best. We have a great team leader in Sigmund Lee for our slot division, and he's amazing at recruiting, and we work hard to help him with retention.
You are a public company now.
Yep.
What's the investment thesis?
I mean, I think if you're sitting there, if you're sitting there on IPO day, right? The investments thesis is very similar to what it is today, right? We've done very well, and we've performed very well over the past, 9 months or so, roughly 9 months since the IPO. We are a growth company. We're growing, into healthy double-digit figures. We're a diversified company. We're very focused on what we do. And believe it or not, even when we're on the road and we're doing roadshow work and we're doing, whether it's a roadshow for the IPO or as we would call it an NDR, a non-deal roadshow, just going out to talk to investors, our investors want to hear about our culture. They believe in it. They believe in it, that it's something that drives this business, that it's a competitive advantage if we stay focused on it. So people do all the work, right? So we stay focused on people. We've got the product divisions and the diversity. We'll continue to make investments where we need to, but we're a growth company, and that's the profile, that most of our investors look at us as.
Okay, finally, we're at G2E. We're going to show off your newest and the products you want to see. You want people most to see. What are your must-sees?
You ask this every year, and I probably give you some bogus answer every year. Like, you got to see them all, right? And I think that the thing for someone to come in and see if they're going to see this before they drop into G2E is look at the product diversity, right? Yes, we have a new cabinet. Yes, we have a new upright that we're unveiling here at the show. In the Orion family again, I expect great things out of it. Yes, we are GLI approved on our shuffler now. You can come in, look at the shuffler, and you can look at stacks, our stacks progressive, and you can look at a newer version of bonus spin. You can talk to our guys about real money gaming. But I think that's just it. It's really looking at what we do as an entire company and how we put the package together. And just a plug for our marketing folks is to check out the great work that they do as well, obviously, because I think they're the best in the business.
There you go. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I appreciate your time here. Glad to do this again.
Okay, well, glad to have you. Thank you, David.
Thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.